Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dugout Mug Studios. This is a Variety Sports Network production. It's the seventh inning stretch.
And we are live here Thursday, February 20th. And look who shows up just in the nick of time, Mr. Logan Stone. We got Josh Edwards as well. And as you can see, kind of a special guest here, Eric Walk-Off Parker here. And he's going to give us a little dive into his show, or his game, I should say, that he has. And he's a Mariners fan. And I'm an A's fan. So we want to get in some AL West stuff here as well. Logan brought some good stuff to the table earlier this week on it. We're going to do a starting pitching draft. Is Vladdy a Blue Jay past the deadline? We'll get into all these things here tonight on the show. And then, of course, I got my own trivia for Logan as well. He missed it last night. He had an important phone call last week. So we'll see if I can get him this week on it as well. Eric, it's only right. You're the guest here, sir. It's an honor to have you. A shout out to one of the Variety Sports Network, Logan Stone special, Josh Lewis, shouting out your game on X. He was the reason I kind of started doing it from the beginning. Eric, how we doing out there in Seattle, or at least in Washington, I should say. Maybe not
Yeah, we're doing good. Thanks for the intro, Darren and Josh and Logan. Good to be with you, and good to be with your audience too. It's fun to be here and to finally meet you. I've dropped in on a number of the streams over the last few months, and we really appreciate the support and you playing and pretty much crushing the A's and the Cardinals just about every week. So I'm going to have to mix it up a little bit today and do some AL West teams. But happy to be here.
We got some for you. We'll get into that in just a second. Mr. Edwards, how we doing out there?
Pretty good. I've been actually doing more daily walk-off in my free time or like at lunch.
Testing the knowledge.
I got through 20 teams the other day.
Impressive.
And I got 19. I finished 19 of them.
Okay.
All right.
So I felt good about myself considering Darren destroys me in our trivia. Usually, I might get 2 out of 10, maybe.
Jason Giambi. I'm still impressed. Jason Giambi forever will live in my. You got that one right. That's all that mattered to me, Mr. Edwards. Logan Stone, how are we doing out there tonight? Ready to talk a little pitching? Good. I saw you did what an AL West breakdown. I can't wait to get into with that. That was beautiful.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I did so much homework for this. So
because you love baseball. That's why we're here tonight.
You missed this.
That's why we're here tonight, Mr. Lowe. That's why I write random articles on Buster Posey being a GM back in September. That's why we do this stuff, Eric. And Eric, I'm curious to know, why did you start walk-off? I as a baseball fan, you get into all these things, and like I said, Mr. Lewis pointed out, so your brains. What for you kind of got you guys going on this?
Well, we ask ourselves that question every day at this point because of the level of effort to keep it going. But at the same time, it is fun. So, yeah, my buddy Jacob, who he's on vacation in Arizona right now, so he's getting tuned up for the baseball season down there. But he and I started this. I would say our initial discussions probably go back about a year and a half. So he had started a really successful iPhone game like 15 years ago, built it in his spare time, had 100,000 downloads. Just one of those guys, just did it for fun. Never made him any money on it.
Tell us what game it was?
It was called Squarescape. So I was getting mixed up with Squarespace, the website, but it's transposed letters. And it was like an escape room with a block, and you got to get it out of the maze. And there's new rules every level. And I don't know, that thing kind of took off. And he was in college. He didn't want to support it. And so I reached out to him like a year and a half ago, and I knew he played daily games and stuff. So I was like, hey, what do you think about making a baseball game? And our premise was that we'd played a lot of the baseball games out there and we liked them, but we don't really know a lot outside of our own team. We're both Mariners fans. So we're like, if I'm playing MLB Pickle and it's like, who's the 5th starter on the Marlins this year? I'm like, dude, I don't know. This is not fun for me to try and guess this. So, and we'll play Immaculate Grid. And my favorite times is when the Mariners are on it. Cause I can actually name random players, but if it hits me up with 2 teams I don't know very well, I'm like, dude, I couldn't tell you who's a Marlin and a Twin. It's beyond me, right? So that was that was just the big initial premise. Could we make a game that would be entertaining, first of all, to Mariners fans? And then we're like, well, if we're doing that, we can just do it for all 30 teams. So I'm a data guy by trade. That's my day job, is building data workflows and visualizations and all of that. So I was like, I think I can figure out the data side. And Jacob's a software engineer. So he was like, well, I think I can figure out the game side of this. So we spit back and forth. We had some inspirations, like if you've played New York Times Connections, there's some flavor of that in what we do. There's some Immaculate Grid in there. There's some Wordle. There's a little bit of everything. you mix it all together. So we launched it toward the very end of last baseball season, like the very end of August. And we were just like praying, like, could maybe 1,000 people play it in the first weekend? Like, we're like, hitting up our family and friends, harassing them like, hey guys, play. And anyways, I think now we're at like 1.5 million plays since it released. So it's definitely has taken off since then. And it's been a fun ride. We're still waiting to see where it goes. We got some conversations about the 2025 season, people that are interested in maybe hosting it on their site or something. We'll see. Those conversations are all still a little too early to tell, but it's been a wild ride. And one of the coolest things is it's opened doors to meet a lot of really cool people in the baseball space like you all.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And obviously, I think about the time that we put into a podcast like Logan, before you got on, we talked about how this thing started, and you put in tons of hours into it, and Edward, and I can't even imagine how many hours you've probably put into this that like we don't know about. Like, you've probably been up like a lot of hours trying to get players and all this stuff. Like, you seem like a detailed guy, like you said, so you're trying to make it work and that stuff. So I think that's why I respect the game a little bit. When I played, I'm like, oh, these guys have thought about stuff, and this is before we even met and stuff like. So I do as a baseball fan, it's kind of fun to be able to do this. I work at a school. I'm able to mess with eighth graders, and they like to have some fun with it too. Once in a while, we do it during PE. So I kind of appreciate like the game a little bit in that sense. And I know Edwards, like we've talked about it too, is like, as we've done the podcast together, it's kind of I kind of did this trivia thing once a week. It's like, it is refreshing to the brain. You'll be like, but I don't like when you say debuted in 1898. That I don't like that when you say that. But I know Edwards is like, it's kind of cool.
It helps me out.
It helps you out. I mean, you played Immaculate Grid a little bit. What do you think, Edwards, with that stuff too?
So, Immaculate, I'm in the same situation as you, Eric. Like, the Immaculate's hard for me because I know my teams. I know the teams in my division and my rivals that I have outside of the division, but outside of that, I don't know. So this has been great for me. I enjoy this. I rarely do I get them in the first or second try. Usually I get it on the third one.
Triple.
But I have a good time with it. It's fun. Makes me feel like I'm learning and I'm smart. I'm like, oh, I didn't know this guy was good then. So I thoroughly enjoy the game. Wow, Logan.
Sorry, something got stuck in my throat.
Yeah. Hey, it's something that I don't feel stupid about. Anyways, I got a buddy at work. I showed it to him, and he was instantly hooked. He was like, boom, and he just started blowing through them because he knows baseball way more than I do. So it's a cool game.
Eric, what's the biggest challenge you've had? Honestly, when you do something like this, you're diving in. You mentioned you have a couple kiddos as well. Like, that adds up to it. What's kind of the biggest challenges you guys have gotten? I would say bigger, right? I mean, you got the guy. What's the guy? The guy Eddie. I'm forgetting the.
Not Guy Eddie. Yeah, he's been a really cool guy to partner with.
Yeah, he's a huge follow on X, and I'm happy Variety Sports Network even got the chance to do that with you this week. And part of the reason you're on probably too at the same time is be able to make that work. But for you, those relationships has been positive. But I also know there's got to be some deep challenges. So what outside of time, what for you has been tough?
Yeah, well, I'm going to destroy the premise of your question and say time, at least to start, because, so Jacob and I are both, I've got 2 little kids. He's got one and another on the way. So we are always fighting to we want to improve the game. We want to build more features out. We want to make an email sign in, like getting the archive dropped a few weeks ago, like that. We were telling people back in September, October, oh, we'll have it in a couple weeks. No, it took 3 months because there were just so many wrinkles. And Jacob is he's an amazing designer, but he really goes, to the nines. He doesn't do anything halfway. So it's going to be, oh, hey, how do I get these 2 random replays in there as well as a trailing 2 weeks? And so he blows me away with just his technical prowess, but he's also, really detail oriented. So it's been fun. I'm trying to think of other challenges. I think just trying to continue to figure out how to grow, especially in the off season, right? Where it's the baseball talk is pretty muted. And we have noticed a little just natural uptick since the Super Bowl, just as people's attention starting to turn, reporting to spring training and all of that. But yeah, that's been a big piece of it, is just trying to figure out just how to continue to reach more fans. Cause we think that we're still just the tip of the iceberg for who's found out about it. There's people every day that surprise us. They're like, oh, I've never heard about this. And you're like, I don't know. Are you on the internet? But like, apparently they have it, right? So
yeah, no doubt.
There's still a ton more people to reach. I'm sure you all feel the same way with your podcast. People are like, I just heard about you. You're like, well, we're like 100 episodes into this thing, but here we are.
Well, exactly. We're like, what do we say? Maybe we don't have the face for we have a face for radio, Josh. Yeah, that's the thing. Logan, I want to get your thoughts on the game, just because like you came on, we were doing this for a few weeks, and I remember you joined, and you were kind of like, well, I don't get it at first. Like, do I put it in a category? Like, do I have to rank the guys? Now I think you guys have the pro level stuff with it, and like how you have to be able to rank them once in a while in that stuff, but like. You love this stuff, Logan. You're a baseball guy. What do you think of the walk-off thing? I know you've done it. We've done it on the show here, but what do you make of it? Any questions there for Eric?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I can't really. My brain is just everywhere, and so I can never, focus on a daily thing. But whenever I do, I'm like, oh, I have a couple hours to kill. I do enjoy playing that kind of a game. I played the Immaculate Grid, and I was kind of curious. They came out. They're relatively new. They came out a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah, 2023.
And I was curious, like when they came out and just blew up, did that help you guys at all, or did that kind of take the wind out of your sails a little bit, or like, hey, we had something that's better? Because I think it's better. I think it's a lot easier and more fun for me to have to remember who Fernando Pena was and what he played, because the second baseman always get me. So, but I was just curious about that one.
Yeah, good question. So Immaculate Grid predates us by quite a bit, and I would say, we've got a handful of inspirations, Immaculate Grid being one of them. And yeah, it's kind of like what you're saying. Like what's tricky with Immaculate Grid, I would say, is first of all, like there are categories where I'll just pull blanks. I'm like, I don't know anything. I don't know who crossed over between these teams. Or even if I do, I'm like, well, great. Now I'm picking the most popular answer, and it's going to be a 60%. And then what good is that? So I feel like we always kind of came away from that game feeling like failures, like one way or the other. Yes. And so we were like, well, okay, first of all, we don't want to make our game like so easy that people don't even think it's interesting. But we're like, okay, we want to make a game that's like a little more approachable. And like you said, a lot of it is hopefully like jogging your memory, like, oh yeah, shoot, Paul Sorrento was on the team in 1996 versus like, I have never heard of 5 of these guys, right? Like that kind of thing. So a lot of it was trying to sort of like bring that nostalgia factor in, education for younger fans and all of us. I mean, if you root for a historic team, which I know some of you guys do, you'll get like Philadelphia A's from the 1920s over there, Darren, I'm sure. So like that kind of stuff will pop up.
Jimmy Fox back then.
Exactly. Those were inspirations. And honestly, almost everybody that we've interacted with, like we've talked to the Sports Reference crew a couple times who run Immaculate Grid, and they've been super cool and supportive. And so like every once in a while we see, like I probably play Immaculate Grid like once a month or so. I would like to play it more. Jacob and I, like just to keep daily walk off up and running, we probably each spend about an hour a day on it. And that's not including like bigger pushes and initiatives and technical development if we're like building the archives or something. So Jacob's building the puzzles. It's still mostly by hand. There are little bits of it that can be automated, or we can kind of reuse code to pull like players, but like you'll see something and you don't always see the behind the scenes. So you might see something that said like had a batting average of 300, but then behind the scenes, we might be like, okay, but let's add like an at bat limit, because if there's some random pitcher that goes in this column, like, and we have a lot of this stuff was thrown the hard way. Like people are ticked off, like, why is Jerry Blevins in the hitting column? Where we're like, oh, our bad. We forgot to put an at bat limit or whatever. So there was like funny stuff like that to learn along the way.
Nothing better than customer feedback, right? That's
right. People are not afraid to let us know. To be fair, like most of the feedback we get is so positive. It's like 90% plus. People are like, this is so awesome. Thanks for doing this. And then 10% of the time, people are like, you idiots. This guy was not on this team in this year. Or like the one that always gets us is this guy played with this guy who played with John Olerud. And then people will be like, these guys were traded for each other. They didn't play together. And we're like, oh, sorry. Like our data only goes to the season level. Like we can't say like, oh, he was on the team June 27th and then he was on June 28th. So we do our best over here, but it's a free service. So give us a break.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Go ahead, Logan.
I will say the only problem is I haven't seen Shane Robinson appear on your grid yet. So when you're inauthentic until he's
okay.
part of
taking
it.
The note. We do take requests, so we try and get guys on there when people want to see.
He just needs to be the face of the Cardinals grid. So
that's so funny. As a random A's guy, I always think of Adam Pyatt. I'm like, when am I going to see Adam Pyatt? Like this random guy that played for the A's for a year and a half. I'm always like, when is they going to put him on there? Like, then that's part of your game, and you want that, right, Eric? You want that, you want that talk, you want that culture, especially. Go ahead, Logan.
But yeah, I really like your game because my dad, he's so old. And he can get 9s on the Immaculate Grid because he'll be able to say Pee-wee there was like Apple Pie McGee from 1925 who played for the Pirates. And I'm like, and it was like a .002. I'm like, good Lord. But like this is something that my dad and I can like. I'll be like, oh, I got a home run. He's like, oh, I got a triple. And, he gets annoyed. So whenever I win, that's when we all win, I think. So.
Well, we're going to go AL West with it later today, and our Bonanza part will play the game here. So if we can get a couple AL West teams, I feel very confident about my Oakland Athletics. And I always appreciate you guys having Oakland Athletics on it, but we'll see where that goes as you guys kind of grow with the times, how you have to do that. But part of the other reason I wanted to have you on, and I'm glad that you were able to have you on, is to talk a little baseball with you. Like everybody knows you for the game, but obviously you know baseball. That's like a key part of it. You grew up a Mariners fan.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that is what it is.
Me too. Sometimes.
Is the Ken Griffey Jr. slide a big part of your early childhood, or how does that kind of fare into your thing? Because that's a big part, and then you obviously got your 2001 Ichiro years and all that. But where do you sit as a Mariners fan as we get into the AL West here?
Yeah, sure. I would say yes, but like maybe a little bit of a downstream effect. So I'm kind of a young guy. I was born in 1992, so. Like I don't have I have recollections of like all the replays of the slide and everything because you see it everywhere. But I would say my earliest memories are probably a little bit more late 90s. And I can't tell you how many hours I spent in the backyard just throwing balls up in the air and hitting them, trying to swing like Ken Griffey Jr. The only problem is I'm a little right-handed white guy, so it didn't really work out for me all that well, all things considered. But everybody wanted to be Griffey, and then I think everybody was sort of heartbroken when those 1990s teams broke up because it was one year after the next. 99 they trade Randy Johnson, 2000 A-Rod walks away, or I'm gonna mix the years up, but 2000 they traded Griffey. I don't know, it was 1 year after the next. It was all these cornerstones are being traded. You're as a kid you're devastated, but then it sort of all culminated into this beautiful thing with the 2001 team with kind of a bunch of selfless guys. And not that they were no names, but you'd think that you lose all these superstars, but what they were able to bring back through their trades, like trading Randy Johnson and getting Carlos Guillen as a shortstop and Freddie Garcia as a number 1 starter, might not quite have been Randy Johnson, but he was pretty good. Getting Mike Cameron out of the Ken Griffey trade, which I was reading some article on that recently about how, their wins above replacement down the stretch after that trade, Mike Cameron outshone Griffey by a lot. Now, mainly because of injury. It wasn't like Griffey was a bad player. He just couldn't stay on the field. And there was a part of me, I was just talking to somebody this week. I was like, man, if they thought about trading A-Rod, I think, but he'd indicated that he would probably re-sign. So they're like, well, okay, we're not going to trade him.
Yeah.
But if they had traded him and brought back some players too, how much better would those early 2000 teams have been if they'd been able to do that too?
It's weird with that Mariners. I remember Safeco, you don't see this with stadiums anymore. They opened mid-year, or late mid-year. It wasn't like this. I think they maybe opened in August. It wasn't the beginning of the season when Safeco.
Yeah, mid-July. It opened in the middle of this.
Yeah, so it's very odd that happens. Yeah. And I just remember Griffey. My Sports Center obsession. I just remember him hitting a home run at that stadium, but I remember that. I was like, that's so weird that you would open at the stadium, and it just doesn't seem like
it probably was supposed to open at the beginning of the season.
The Kingdom is gonna blow up. We need to get everybody out of the Kingdom now. You're not allowed into the Kingdom. Those were some great years with the Mariners that you guys had in those times. Let's start, though, as we kind of work to your Mariners. Let's start as we get into the AL West guys, the Astros. Susie, are you out there? Wake up. Are you out there in Houston? I want to start with the AL because, guys, Are the Astros no longer the AL West Kings? That's the question. I got some of the notes here at the bottom at the ticker. They obviously got Christian Walker, Logan Stone. They lost Kyle Tucker, a huge loss. What do you think, Mr. Stone? They number one in your heart, number one in your. How do you see about them?
No, so their acquisitions were Walker and Isaac Paredes, but they lost so much this year or this offseason. They lost Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Yusei Kikuchi, Justin Verlander, who wasn't really anything this last year, but Ryan Presley and Kendall Graveman.
It's a lot.
And that's a lot. And so that's why I have them at my 3 to finish third this year, or at least they're grading their offseason.
You think the Bregman loss puts it over the top for you? Like, does the Bregman?
I think the Tucker one. I thought Tucker.
That was a weird one for me. That one never made sense to me at all. Me and Josh had talked about that with like Tyler. If you like, what do you think about the Astros there, Eric?
Well, as a Mariners fan, I have a tough time with them, but mostly just because they've been beating our backsides for the better part of a decade. In the worst part, well, I'm sure you can appreciate this, Darren. When they first came into the division, when they did all that realignment, and what was it, the early 2010s? You're like, this team is terrible. This is great.
18 wins every year.
Welcome aboard, Astros. You're going to lose 100 games a year, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, they're a monster. It was a setup. But I was just looking this up today, knowing that this conversation was coming. So shout out to you, Darren. Do you know the last team to win the AL West that wasn't the Astros?
Had to be the A's.
It was the A's. Do you know when that was?
I want to say 2014.
The 2020 season. Well, so it's the shortened season, right? They
were
36 and 24. But
I was thinking about the one where they beat the Rangers on the high voltage one there. Yeah.
So if we throw it back to what is the last full 162 game season that the Astros did not win the division?
It has to be the Rangers. It has to be those World Series years.
Yeah, 2016 Texas Rangers. Isn't that insane?
Really?
That's insane. Yeah.
So if you throw out the COVID year,
did have that.
They've won, what is that? 8 of the last 9. So,
Dominance.
Right? The last 8 full seasons they've won the division. So I think I'm with Logan that you look at what they lost versus what they gained and you think it's a step back, but then it's like, do you want to bet against them? Like I probably don't until proven otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, I think
to me
go ahead, Logan.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, the Christian Walker, I mean, maybe if it was surrounded by Tucker extension, but because Walker is 36 years old, 37, I think, maybe. I mean, I just can't I can't just say, oh, they're the Astros. I mean, Yordan Alvarez is good, but defensively he's and there's some other guys in there, but Jeremy Pena is not the superstar they were hoping for.
Oh, stop it. You drafted him for a reason last week. You drafted him for a reason.
I didn't draft him.
I thought you drafted him 5
That was
last
Josh.
week.
That was Josh.
No, that was you last week. You drafted him 5, I believe.
No,
Check the tape. Check the tape.
That was the catcher. What's his name? Anyways,
Diaz. Yeah, right. Yeah, Diaz there.
Not Jeremy Pena.
No, not Pena. Not Pena. Yeah. I was thinking about with the Astros, Josh. For me, it's the room for air. That's kind of for me as like what the big factor is for them maybe falling out is like they've had like a deep team, and as we know in baseball, injuries more than likely are going to happen. So you're going to hit this, and like that's to me where they maybe lost some of their luster is they don't have this room for air that they've had before. Like Valdez is a great pitcher. Like the other guy Blanco had a great year last year, but they lost. Like the room for error is a little different. We'll see if Hader can serve his $100 million contract. But what do you kind of make with the Astros here?
Oh, don't get me started on Hader. That was a waste of money. But no, you're right. The depth is gone unless they have a bunch of kids who we don't know about, who just come out and overperform and step up every single time they need them to. But yeah, their room for error is slim. The depth is nothing. There is no depth. So yeah, they're third in my opinion in this division. And if the A's overperform by even 15%,
500. Let's go. 500.
I mean, and the Astros have a rough go of it. The Astros may finish 4th. And who knows what the Angels are going to be with the Angels offseason. We may all be wrong, and the Angels may actually be a decent team and have some kind of chemistry here.
I think we're still
no idea about the bottom 3 in this division. I have no idea how this is going to go. I know how I feel about the top 2 teams, and that's about it.
Logan, before you get to Eric, what do you got?
I was just going to say the Astros have the 30th ranked farm system in the league.
Okay,
They're
so
dead
I
last.
don't have any surprises.
No top 100 prospects.
Eric, when you gave those years, though, before when they were trash, they were number 1 for about 4 years, and it added up to a lot of good baseball for them over the years. I will say this about the Astros, just my final thought on them is, like I said, the depth is an issue, but they still have the best. I have one of the best players in the league in Alvarez in the division. The defense is what it is. That guy is a stud when he is in the box. Edgar Martinez, you know that as a Mariners fan, like that is. I think fear is the factor because what you said, dominance is like the Braves in the NL East for a while. It's like you have to give this team respect because of that always being the case. And there might be a drop off, and I think a lot of people, Eric, would say, as you're wearing that T-shirt, the Mariners, this is their time. Can they navigate the division? Their GM has made some odd comments the last couple of years. This year's comments, I was very interested in listening to a lot of his quotes this year. He didn't go out anything like that, but he did say he was satisfied with the offense. That is a big one to me. That as a Mariners fan, when you hear that from your GM, are you satisfied? Is Julio Rodriguez that last 2 months everything? I mean, you know what I mean. So where do you kind of see your team in competing for this division when I think almost everybody would say they have the best pitching in the division?
Yeah. Well, yeah, to finish up the Astros thought, they're like the aging prize fighter that you're like, I don't know how many more good fights they have left. They might be done, or they might have 1 or 2 more. It's like hard to know. So you can see the end of like that era is somewhat near. But I think the weird thing with the AL West is the 2 teams probably most poised to take that next step and trying to like take the crown with the Rangers and the Mariners kind of didn't really like do that much with their off seasons. And then the 2 teams that you're like, don't really have much of a chance, the A's and the Angels, they're out just like, yeah, man, let's restock. Let's do this thing. And you're like, what is going on right now? So, I mean, I know a lot of it's about payroll, but it's been a weird
bizarre world
for the division that Astros are stepping back. The 2 next teams up kind of sitting pat. And then the 2 teams that probably a long shot are like adding. So it's been strange, but so we shifted Mariners now.
Yeah. What do you think of them?
Well, the optimistic side would say that they actually had their biggest acquisitions toward the middle to end of last year with Victor Robles and Randy Arozarena. And yeah, the offseason was a little quiet, but what if they had these guys for the whole year? Because they were at least decent, if not like Victor Robles was like really like you could see why he was the number 1 prospect in baseball way back when, but he hadn't done that in the last few years in Washington. So it's kind of a weird thing, but it's cool. It worked out for him, at least for that stretch. And hopefully he can sustain that. I think everybody was hoping that they'd pick up, another bat of note. Definitely there were some first basemen that I think would have been natural fits, and they went with Donovan Solano, which is like fine, but he's not like Pete Alonso or Christian Walker or even like Goldschmidt. So it was an interesting choice. Obviously they're working with some budget constraints and just trying to make that work. And they have kind of committed some money internally to guys like Julio and Luis Castillo. So they get a little bit of a bad reputation for being cheap, and some of that is earned, but then there's like, okay, well, they don't have like a bottom 10 payroll. So anyways, I don't know. To me, it feels like just a 3-way coin toss between the Astros, Rangers, and Mariners for the top of the division at this point. I mean, they were all finished within what, 2 games of each other last year.
It was close.
I kind of feel like it's just going to be another one of those this year. Like they're just going to kind of be a 3-horse race. And the scary thing for, I think, all those teams is if you don't win this division, I don't think you're making the playoffs, because the A's and the Angels have shored up, and I think they're going to at least be decent teams. Yeah. You don't have a White Sox in your division to beat up on and stat pad and get an extra 5 or 10 wins off of. So the White Sox are not looking good again. So the AL Central is just getting the wild cards like by default. Seems like
I wanted to ask you real quick before I get to Logan on this one, and Josh is Luis Castillo was interesting to me because I wanted to ask you is he was in a lot of trade rumors though this winter.
Yeah.
That's where their philosophy, if I was a fan, I'd be like, what do you mean we're trying to win? But then you're like, that's for me where it doesn't add up as a Mariners. Me looking in, like, I'm like, why are we? It's kind of like those Padre rumors with Cease. Like, I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, it doesn't add up. So, like, did you think those were serious? You haven't traded him, but I don't know. Like, that's a weird one to me because he's a good pitcher and you need him on your team. So that was odd to me because you said we paid him as well. So maybe you could just touch on that real quick before I get to Logan there.
Yeah, I think he's on a reasonable contract. Like, I think I could be misquoting here, but I think he signed a 5-year deal that was worth like $24 million a year, which for the level of pitcher he is actually like a pretty good deal now. Versus, it was like, I think it was already a little team friendly when he signed it a couple of years ago. And now it's like, yeah, it's like a pretty good deal. So I think my guess is they were shopping it around. Like, is anybody desperate enough for a starting pitcher and want him on a reasonable rate? And they're willing to give up like some young talent to be able to do that. I think probably where the mismatch is the Mariners were looking for MLB hitters that had, at least a little bit of experience. And I would imagine most teams were probably like, yeah, we'll give you some prospects. But the Mariners are in a weird kind of win now mode, right? Like they're not selling this year by any means. So I think that was the mismatch is like, well, you don't want to give away a really good pitcher for prospects in a year when you're actually trying to win. Oh, thank you. Yeah, 5 years. Yeah. So it's even more favorable than $24 million a year, whatever that factors out to.
I think that's the thing with if I just like, again, from afar, like Mariners fans, they're getting kind of this mixed like they can't go all in like maybe like these other teams. So you get your Rodriguez and then you have to kind of push back maybe for everything. Logan, where do you see the Mariners kind of fitting in here? Or Logan's frozen, so let's go to Josh. Josh, what do you make of the Mariners here kind of as we drop into it? Do you think they –
I'm sorry, what?
What I was saying was where do you see the Mariners? Like Eric brought up the point, it's a 3-way race. It was a tight division race last year. Where do you see the Mariners at this year?
I can't – with their – I mean, they really didn't have any additions except for your boy Miles Mascheroni.
Who? Just gonna say.
But I mean, they really didn't lose anyone important. Like who I thought, oh man, they lost this guy, and that's the end. But I still think that they're going to be number 4 in the West. I can't
number
see
4.
Them,
wow.
I can't see them beating the Angels, honestly.
Even with Julio, even with like those guys, like you just think injuries.
I not even injuries. I just don't think that. I think it's very easy to just take out Julio by himself when he's the only player on that team. Sorry, Eric, but
big number 8.
Yeah, I mean, they have that pitching, which may save them a little bit, but I just don't. I don't see, and honestly, I don't want them to win because I want them to be terrible, so that way they go out and do something. So.
They're always a weird franchise to me. Like even when you mentioned Ichiro with them, it felt like it was a result of losing all those players that they went out and got a guy and they hit on it. They've always it felt like they've always gone half in a little bit to and they spent more money since they made it to Safeco, which I'm sure as a Mariners fan you appreciate them keeping a guy like Julio and keeping some of your players around. But they definitely do fit in a weird spot. Edwards, where do you have them finishing at?
So I have them 2.
All right behind it.
And I have them 2 if the pitching is what it's supposed to be, like it showed it was last year, and if the offense can find a way to protect Julio and put people on base in front of him so that when he does make contact, he drives and runs. I was really high on Seattle last year. What's your deal? What's your deal now? Run your mouth, Logan.
You do this. You do this all the time. You do this thing where you're like, I do this if, and it's like, and then they do exactly what you say
because you and I
with
have
that
different
caveat.
Capital F.
No, you do the if, and then at the end of the year that you're like, I called it. They're gonna do this, and Or I called it.
Put it on tape. We're on tape right now. He can't do if it. He can't if it now.
I'm right so rarely that it upsets you when I do get something.
No, it's not. No, it's
Anyways,
not like
I
that.
was high on the Mariners last year. I thought they should have won the division last year because of the pitching staff they had. I didn't realize the offense was going to struggle as bad as it did.
No, I didn't either.
So I'm in the same situation I was with them last year, so that's why I'm putting them second because I think the Rangers are just a little bit better team.
I kind of wrote it on there like, kid, Seattle finally hit enough to take the division. That was kind of my thought when I kind of overseeing them as a group with it. And like I said, like the other team that I think with the Mariners, that is it the Bochy every other year magic. You know, we have that out here in the Bay Area as well, but he was the Giants guy and they won it a couple of years ago. And I think the Rangers are getting a lot of love right now because of some of that stuff. Seager coming back. They do have some young pitching. I feel like Jack Leiter's been on the horizon for 8 years now. I know it hasn't been that long. It just feels like that since his days at Vanderbilt. That the Rangers are kind of a weird team as I look in this division. Like we talked about that three team race with the Mariners, the Astros. The Rangers they got the best middle infield in the division, which is always important. They have DeGrom should be back. We'll see what they get from him as well. So I don't know, Eric, where do you kind of see the Rangers fitting in here?
I like the Rangers. I think they're a good team. They obviously won the World Series a couple years back, and then they didn't disappear last year. Did they make the wild card? I'm trying to remember. Or did they just? That's right. The Astros edged them out by one game to win the division, and then sent them packing. So it was, like I said, it was a really close race down the stretch. And then I think with the Rangers, they're probably the biggest question mark about health, just because they've got so many guys that are top end performers, but have also had histories of injury. Like Seager's missed time. I think even Semion's missed a little time, but less so. DeGrom. Like there's so many guys that if I feel like, what was that, 2023? Like when they were all healthy, you're like, this is a team that can win the World Series, and they did. But they're kind of getting all the stars to align is the tricky part. But they've also got some kind of up and coming talent, like Wyatt Langford really turned it on at the end of last season. Even Josh Young, he's the third baseman, right? He's pretty good. So I think they're like an overall pretty good team. I would imagine that they have a good start. Wasn't that a couple years ago? They had like some historic start, and then the World Series year. They had they were won 60 games faster than anybody, and then they stubbed their toe and went like 10-30, and then they bounced back. And 23. Their bullpen was pretty meh. I think was one of their big problems. I don't know if they really have addressed that over the last couple of years, but maybe that's another question mark for them.
Yeah, I think the young pitching is always a weird one for me. Just to get us 100% on track here. So Astros, they won the division 88-73. Mariners 85-77. Mariners 78-84. A's 69-93. Mariners 63-99. So the Rangers finished 10.5 out last year in the division. The Seager injury just killed them along the way there with it. I don't know, Logan. I mean, you're in Texas. There is there hype for this team?
There's a little bit. I mean,
Cowboys already.
Yeah. Don't start with me. Don't start. We've been through enough.
Prescott said he's ready. Prescott
and then Luka leaving the wrong player left. Yeah. So I mean, the Rangers. I mean, they had a good. I mean, not a great offseason, a solid offseason. They made a lot of acquisitions. They basically they took that bullpen that was terrible and just grabbed every reliever that they could and trying to see who's stuck to the wall. They signed Jock Peterson. So, I mean, they got a couple of guys. They lost Nathaniel Lowe, which I think was a stupid mistake. Nathaniel Lowe hit 34 home runs last year, I think. I want to say maybe 20, maybe it's 26, but
he hit a bunch.
He did hit a bunch, and
he went to the Nationals.
And they traded him to the Nationals for basically nobody, and it's kind of been a big. I think that's going to be a big loss for them, but maybe they have an idea. Their rotation is a little bit questionable. Eovaldi has been good, but he's aging. DeGrom is always a wild card. He's the best pitcher in the world whenever he's pitching, but he doesn't pitch hardly at all anymore. 2 games in 3 years or something. So that's a problem. So, I mean, hopefully Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker come up and, they hit their stride. Adolis Garcia has got to
get the magic
go down.
back.
He's got to stop swinging and missing. I mean, he strikes out so much. This is why I don't like him. Everyone is talking about, oh, he hit so many home runs. I would love to have him. I'm like, no. He strikes out. Pitchers are going to figure this guy out pretty soon. And last year they figured him out. Josh Young, I think he's going to have a really good year this year. So I'm excited. I think they have the second best offseason. And I think, they can make progress. So
Nathaniel Lowe, 27 bombs in 2022, 17 and 23, 24 16 last year. So yeah, he did. His biggest year was 27 in 2022 as well. But hey, that felt like 30. So he felt like along the way with it. Edwards, what do you think about A's? Are we making any? Are my A's making? We're in Sacramento. It's kind of weird for me. Everybody's like, "You want to go?" I'm like, I'm not prepared to get ripped by every fan yet. So I gotta wait a little bit. Even though my sister lives in Sacramento here, she's like, I'm gonna go the first week. I'm like, that's great for you. I can't go yet that one. So going to the last game in Oakland was kind of an interesting experience in itself. It was fun for me to obviously take my kids and us talking about it. But Logan Severino, biggest contract given out in athletics history.
Greatest pitcher of all time.
Edwards, they did re-sign Rooker. Do you believe in this team at all? Can they get to 500 this year?
They're probably.
Well, come on.
Their ceiling's probably 500. Let's put that. The ceiling's 500.
Yeah.
If I'm you, I'm happy with 71, 72 wins.
We got 60. What was it, Logan Rush? 69, I think it was what we had.
69 wins, 69, 93. Their 25 projection is 76 and 86.
Yeah, I could see that because what was it? Gosh, I can't think of the guy. I mean, obviously Rooker came on, but Lawrence came on massively in the second half. I mean, he was one of the best players in baseball in the second half. So I think people are expecting that a little too. But so you have them at 76. So that's around there.
That's their projections from fans.
I like that. That sounds probably a little bit more reasonable. I think Severino's got to count for how many wins.
Hopefully 22. No,
I mean, realistically, he should be
15. I think 15. I think would be a great season for him. I mean, that's where I'm thinking.
So good.
First player
whatever they had last year,
20 games.
That's what I think. I think that's the difference. I don't think there's any other major changes there. I don't think the division got any easier. I don't think the division got any harder. I mean, the Angels may be a problem for them. Like I said, we don't know what the Angels are actually going to be because it's basically it's halfway a rebuild team.
It's going to be interesting what they do with the Angels.
A ton of retreads.
Yeah, with the basement there, they got Jansen as well. I mean, where do you see it, Eric, with the basement there, the A's, Angels? You can take it wherever you want with it, but I have the A's up here. But if you want to talk Angels too, that's fine. What do you kind of make of these two teams?
Well, yeah, they are interesting. They're like I was saying, they're both strange because they're not really teams that have a lot of hope this year to win the division or make a deep playoff run, but they were definitely the two most active teams this offseason as far as adding talent. I suppose the A's was mainly Severino. I'm trying to recall if there was any other major additions.
No. I mean, the biggest thing was they honestly.
And they re-signed Rooker, or they extended Rooker, right?
And I want to say that I think this guy, if you remember the Pirates guy back in the day, I would say Jack Wilson was a shortstop for the Pirates. His first round pick, son Jacob Wilson, he got hurt like his literally first game, pulled a hamstring after he got a single and running the bases. Like, he's going to be a pretty good player too. So I am interested to see like him at shortstop. I think that could add something if he's the player that they project him to be. And people aren't really talking about him yet, so he's kind of my wild card in their season a little bit. Yeah. Given Butler can continue what he did as well in the second season. But yeah, go ahead there, sure.
I like the A's. They're scrappy. Like you said, I mean, Lawrence Butler was a revelation, especially the second half of last season. Brent Rooker is one of the best DHs in all of baseball, and it kind of serially underrated. Even like Ruiz is like he's kind of a sneaky guy too.
Yeah,
he could sit down for a little bit last year, right? But I mean, if he kind of bounces back and has a good year, I don't think they're much of a threat to like win the division, but oh gosh, if I had to put money on it, I'd put them on finishing ahead of the Angels. I think. I know the Angels added a lot of sort of name talent, but I don't know how much of an impact it'll end up having at the end of the year record.
I'd be disappointed if they finished last place. Given the momentum headed that way, it definitely would feel like a step back. Again, going to Sacramento, a minor league stadium. We'll see how that plays out for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a lot for the players. It's I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We'll see how that goes.
Might bond them. Who knows? Maybe they'll be even better.
I think that probably has been part of it for them.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys too, when you play for a city that moved, you feel like you're part of the franchise even more because, like myself, you relate to some of these guys that played for your team as a kid growing up. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where they go in terms of that. You brought up earlier, like very early on, you're like, well, some of these teams spent money because they had to. The A's were definitely one of those teams. So as I always like to say, John Fisher is a massive issue that people cannot overlook along this way here, but. Logan, you think the A's can finish ahead of the Angels? Sure, the Angels, again with the Angels, they have the thing for me that with them is like, can they be the same old Angels? Like, are they the same old ones too? So I don't know. They made a lot of picks. They got Jansen, who obviously wants to still close, and they got some stuff like that. They signed some probably their best news was Rendon is out for they don't have to even think about it. But where do you kind of see the Angel A's there at the bookend of the division there?
So the Athletics I'm pretty excited about. They got a couple of guys. You mentioned Butler. My boy JJ Bleday, who you and I have bonded over. Shea Langoliers, who hit 33 bombs last year or something.
Yeah. Not that many, but yes.
So they got a couple of guys who really intrigue me, and Luis Severino is not going to be a game changer. Gio Urshela's probably going to be an anchor on that team. They got a couple of guys that can, keep things interesting. I don't.
So you're not a fan of the Severino signing, though?
It means nothing.
Yeah. He's got good stuff, though. I mean, that's the thing.
He does. I don't think he's going to, I think 15 wins is asking a lot. I mean, if he gets 15 wins, that's amazing, but I don't think that's possible for him. I think he's going to get injured after the second month of the season, actually. But anyways, but yeah, the Athletics. I think they have a chance of. I think 75 is a good projection for them. 75 wins.
So do you think the Angels finish above them though?
I do. I think the Angels. I think they really, not necessarily. Had an outstanding offseason, better than the Dodgers or anything. But, I mean, they got Yusei Kikuchi, who's been an underrated pitcher. Kenley Jansen, he's okay, but he's cheap. Yeah, Jorge Soler, who is hit and miss. He'll either hit you 20 home runs or he'll strike out. Travis d'Arnaud, who's one of the best catchers in the game right now still. Kyle Hendricks, who's on his way out, Yohan Moncada, who's got an good on base, and so they got a couple of good guys. I think under Ron Washington, they can all, they can perform pretty well. Taylor Ward is going to be on that team. Jared Walsh.
Who's the guy that throws absolute gas? That was from Tennessee, right?
Joyce.
Yeah, Joyce. At some point, he's got to be a factor. I mean, that guy throws.
Yeah. and they also have a guy who's they also got a guy coming up. His name is Mike Trout. And so I think, I know he gets injured a lot, but he's still a factor. I mean, he played 80 games a couple years ago and still hit 40 home runs. So he's still a factor in that team.
He's absolutely a factor every year at that.
And they're moving him into right field, so he's going to have less ground he's got to cover. So hopefully that'll help keep the injuries down.
I think they just need to keep him at DH, but that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
So, Eric, if you're making a prediction here, just kind of off the you think Astros finish 1? You think that's where they go, or you think it's some like if you just had to put money on it, who are you going 1, 2, 3? I guess with it, who are you finishing there?
All right, I'll go 1 through 5 for you.
Go ahead.
There's so many variables, but here's what I'll go. I'll go Rangers, Mariners, Astros, Athletics, Angels.
Really?
I like it. Logan, where do you got then?
I have Rangers, Angels, Astros, Mariners, Athletics.
And Angels too. Wow.
Yeah. I think the Astros are going to take a huge.
Susie does not approve of that message. She does not approve of that message at all, Edwards. Where do you got it at? Do you think you got Rangers 1?
I'm actually in the same boat with Eric.
All right. So you go the same way he goes with it. Yeah, there you go.
I love the Mariners to finish number 1. Don't get me wrong here. Part of this is trying not to get my hopes up, but I think there's a viable path for Seattle or the 2 Texas teams to finish number 1. I don't think that's a landslide by any means.
I think Seattle can win 1 if they have an offense. I think the pitching's that good.
Maybe Edgar, the hitting coach, is going to do it. We'll see.
Can Edgar do it?
But they need another bat. They need another bat.
Yeah. Can Edgar do it? He's the key. The AL West is always, obviously, it's a division dear to my heart. I know it well. And I always thought it was funny that we had 4 teams in the division and everybody else had 5 for about 15 years. So I always thought that was a massive advantage as well. We had 4 teams in our division and everybody else had 5. But it is what it is. Like I said, I have it as I'm going to take the Astros number 1. Until the king is dead, I'm taking them 1. I think the Rangers go 2. And the Mariners, I just need more. I don't know what it is. I need to see it kind of in a way before I believe it. Maybe that's where I'm at with them. It's kind of like me as a Raiders fan. There's this part that you have 2 decades of this is problem. You're I need to see more a little bit. I got the A's. I do think the A's can get 500 like our guy Flea Market Floppy just said here. So I do think that's where they're at. And I'm Logan. I can't put the Angels as high as 2. That's tough for me in that regard. But I think the Angels have the opportunity with Trout, who we'll talk about here in just a second as well. I want to get into the starting pitching though, because obviously Eric, your team has some of the best starting pitching in terms of guys you would want on top of it. There's a lot of good guys out there. There's a ton, and so we'll go 12 picks here. We'll go snake draft style as we always do with it. Eric, as a guest here, I kind of want to give you first pick in terms of who you would take.
You gotta let him pick if we're doing a snake draft.
I gotta let him go. Number 1. We'll go Logan. I got the order I created, so you got to deal with it, gentlemen. I'm going Eric. Logan, you had 4th last week. So you're getting 2nd this week. I'll go 3. Josh Edwards, you'll go 4 or 5 here as we kind of go with it. So Eric, if I had said, hey, going into 2025, there's a lot of good pitchers, a lot of good players out here. Who would you take as the best player here? Pitcher wise, going into 2025.
Well, I love the Mariners rotation, but I can't take any of them as the number 1 off the board. Well, a quick question: when we are taking these, what are we having in mind here? Just if we're building a team from scratch for fantasy purposes, what are you thinking? Just generally, hey, pick the guy.
You're building a rotation for 2025.
Well,
that's kind of why I say into 2025 in the sense of if you're taking this guy for going into next year. Who do you want as your best guy going? So maybe it is Chris Sale. I mean, I don't think that's who it is, but you know what I mean? It might be him because he won the NL Cy Young, but who would just going into next year, based on last year, based on some other factors that you want to come up. But yeah, we're not taking Jack Leiter or something like that. So who do you have as the top, one of the top guys?
Right. Well, I got to go with Skeens.
All right.
2 SK pitchers.
I had them too. So you got him.
Yeah, I like both those guys a lot.
I had him too. Do you think what a phenom though.
Yeah. He hasn't played over quite a full season yet, but that was a ridiculous rookie season.
Is he okay? Because the last phenom I quite remember is Strasburg. Like he was like the phenom. He was supposed to be kind of Skeens in a sense, but because you're right, he came out of San Diego State, coached by the late Tony Gwynn there, and then you have Skeens that comes from LSU. Like they kind of to me had that same vibe, but this guy seems even different than Strasburg in some areas. But I think that's he seems. I hate that he's on the Pirates.
The only scary thing is the park that he pitches in, right? Because Pittsburgh is a fairly hitters-friendly park, so
it can be,
you'd probably expect his stats to regress a little bit, even if it's just kind of a sheer luck thing. But I'll just pull them up. 5.9 wins above replacement in 23 games, 11-3 record, 1.96 ERA. That is just
stupid good.
If he pitched one more month, he's the Cy Young. It's just that when did he come up? Like mid to late May or somewhere around there.
Do you have the K per 9 there too?
I can get it.
The K per 9, that's the part with him too. That just
11.5, which is
stupid
pretty nasty.
Stupid. That's Jacob deGrom-esque, but better. Like that's how DeGrom was in his best years, was kind of around those numbers. Like he would strike out guys at a relief pitching type rate with the ability to go 100 pitches. I question.
He didn't go a full season. Maybe that's, he kind of got to ease into the MLB workload without having a full 6 months, no postseason.
No, that's true.
Come back a little fresher.
If I was the Pirates, I'd be like, I'm not even worried about innings. I know I'm not signing him in 5 years. I am going Tim Lincecum with this guy. I'm going. We're just throwing this guy as many innings as he's willing to go. I like Skeens. I had on number 2, so obviously I don't have any issues with that.
You had him at number 2. I was wanting the first picture so I can get him.
No, I have a different guy, number 1. Who do you got, Logan, as number 2 picture?
But yeah, I wanted to say really quickly, he had a 2.44 FIP and a 2.14 ERA plus and a 0.94 WHIP last year. I mean, in 23 games,
Stupid.
I mean, he played 10 games less than Chris Sale, and he was still a Cy Young finalist.
He's so good. You just watch him. You're like, I'm watching that start when that guy's pitching.
The only shame is that he's on a terrible team like the Pirates. Otherwise, he'd probably have a lower ERA.
How dare you? What a beautiful logo. You know that's one of my favorite. How dare you do that?
They're a terrible team. Anyways.
Who you got number 2?
I'm going to go with the reigning Triple Crown winner, Tarek Skubal. Yeah.
All right.
And, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Cy Young, Triple Crown winner, 6.3 WAR, 31 games started, 2.39 ERA last year, 2.49 FIP, and a 1.70 ERA plus, and a 0.92 WHIP. Kind of had a couple. Yeah, he had kind of a little bit of a hard time getting into the majors. I think being on a terrible Detroit team really helped that. But last year,
sir. They made that.
And he won the Cy Young and the Triple Crown the year they were good. So, I think that proves everything. So that's a little scary in a sense for me, just because, if the Tigers don't have as good of a season, is he gonna, have is he gonna be affected by that? And so, Tarek Skubal is just awesome though. He's Triple Crown winner. I mean, first one in 5 years, I guess. Never mind. Not that special.
Not since Hernandez in '84. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about relief pitchers, that stuff with it. I had Skubal. I have number 1. So you got my number 1 pick with it. The Tigers underrated hat, one of my favorite logos in the league there. All right, so I'll go number 3 here before I get to Josh for as whenever I do P. They don't understand the snake draft. I try to get 2 picks in a row, kids. You get 2 in a row there. I'm going to go with an ex-Giant, an ex-Met, Mr. Zach Wheeler. I think
I was listening for Severino there.
No. Severino, we'll go with him. Logan totally crapped on him, but I'm picking him. Yeah. No, I think Zach Wheeler is one of the best. So I go Zach Wheeler at number 3. I leave one of my favorite guys off. We'll see if I can get him next with it. But so far we're going Skeens, Skubal, Wheeler, Edwards. The next 2 picks to you. Who do you got?
I don't have to worry about injuries.
I don't care. I don't want to give anything.
All right, DeGrom.
Real what?
Wow.
Number 1?
I had him number like 14. So that's.
I had him as an honorable mention, or maybe if I just felt desperate.
Hold on. We just said he's got the best stuff in baseball. I don't have to worry about injuries.
Nope.
DeGrom.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I mean,
I don't have to worry about him getting injured. I'll take DeGrom.
Yeah, I just get to post this stuff tomorrow.
You're drafting. Never mind. You draft like this all you want.
So you got
and then I want Logan Gilbert.
Are you sure you don't want Pedro Martinez or somebody over there? No? Okay.
Logan Gilbert's an interesting
one.
I was hoping Logan might make it down to number 8, so now I got to get back to the drawing board.
Darren, please don't ever let Josh have the 4th pick again. I can't do this right now.
Makes it more fun.
I don't like Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
What?
Well,
if he's who you got up there.
You left my two
Logan
guys.
Gilbert was number not even ranked here. What is wrong with you?
I had him 7. I had Gilbert 7. So I'm
going off of fantasy. What I read off of fantasy predictions.
I'm not going.
I'm thinking this in fantasy terms.
I had Gilbert 7. I'm going next to with my pick. I'm going to go. It was close between two AL East guys, or AL East, AL West, or NL West, I should say. But I'm going to still go with my guy Garrett Cole. I still take him with it. So that World Series performance, I know he got a little bit of a screw job there at the end with the Dodgers, but I think he showed in that game when he's on his game, he is still as good as it gets. So I feel very good about getting Mr. Wheeler and Garrett Cole on my list. Logan, before we get to Eric, who do you got with your next pick? Is it Corbin Burns? Who do you got?
I don't know right now.
Blake Snell? Blake Snell? You go Blake?
No, not Blake Snell. I am going to go with Sale. Chris Sale, my other Triple Crown winner.
All right. Did go with Sale. I can respect that.
I mean, he was so good last year. I mean, comeback player of the year, 174 ERA plus.
It was awesome.
And Cy Young. So I mean, he was just awesome. I can't do that.
The lefty, the nasty slide, the Mania drop. That's where he learned it from, right? Getting the drop in the shoulder there with it. Eric, you get 2 picks here. There's a lot of good options available.
Garrett Crochet still on the board?
He is definitely still on the board.
That's a tough one because I don't love him as a pick. Like I wouldn't have used an early pick on him. I mean, he was really good. I don't really love Boston's Park. Like that seems like a bit of a downgrade for him, but I feel like at the 8th pick, he's a pretty good value. So I'll go Crochet. All
right. So you get Crochet 8. So you're going with Scooble. Are you going to take another lefty? You going to go another lefty here? Who do you got? Just go with all lefties here. What do you got? Randy Johnson? No, I'm just kidding. What do you got here?
So I got to do a couple honorable mentions.
Let's see it.
I mean, Corbin Burns is a great name still on the board, but I don't think I can take him. I don't love Arizona, just again, stadium-wise as a fit. A lot of indoor, a lot of heat, a lot of balls going to sail there. I would be intrigued by Roki Sasaki, but I just don't think he's going to have the innings workload in his first year to make him worth the pick. So I'm going off the board here. I'm going to be a hometown homer. I'm going with Bryce Miller.
Wow.
Really?
Because, I think, his improvement from his rookie year to his sophomore year was a pretty big jump. And he seemed to really kind of come into his own in the home stretch last year. So I think I would actually, I know like Kirby and Castillo.
Yeah, Kirby was the guy I was going to ask you about.
Probably even more proven guys on the board. But if I'm, rolling the dice on who do I think's got a shot to win the Cy Young, give me Miller. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
That's a good choice. I had him 20, but that doesn't mean it's a bad pick. We're going into it. So
I got to shout out the Mariners somewhere. So
you do.
That's my insider trading.
I like it. I like that with it. So Logan, is it Burns?
This is my last pick, or do we get another one?
No, this is it. We're going 3 rounds. So who do you got?
I'm going Roki. I'm going Roki.
I didn't even have him on my list.
Really? That's why I was kind of fighting that one because I thought I don't want to lose Roki.
Rated me over my picks.
I didn't even have him on.
You picked a dude we've never seen him pitch against pro MLB hitters.
You picked Jacob deGrom as your number 1 pick.
He's got a beautiful right shoulder.
Gilbert as your 2. But anyways,
we'll let the public decide tomorrow. We'll let the public decide tomorrow.
I wanted to talk about the honorable mentions. Well, actually, I'll wait until you and Josh go before I talk.
I got about 1,000. It looks like.
Yeah, me too. So,
so who do you got? Who are you taking then?
That's
your last pick, or you took it. So I'm gonna go with. He still was my number 5. I'm still taking Burns. I had Burns and then I had Logan Webb as my next 2 guys available. So I'll take Corbin Burns as my next pick with it. Eric, I hear what you're saying about NL West. We've seen Gallen have some success. We've seen Kelly have success there. We've seen guys.
The good point you have is that there are some pretty pitcher-friendly parks in the NL West, right? I mean, you get to play road games in San Diego. Even the Dodgers is not a bad pitcher's park necessarily.
Just got to deal with that lineup, but that's about it.
Yeah, and then you got Colorado where they're just going to nuke them. But what are you going to do? Hope you have your games there early in the year when it's cold.
Burns and Webb are very similar to me. I think Burns obviously has the track, but Webb is he's kind of a dog. He goes 200 innings. He throws he does his stuff. So for me, Webb is kind of an underrated guy out here that I've seen in the Bay Area a little bit too. I feel very good with my team though, and American public. Let's go. Let's vote for me tomorrow.
Can I predict?
Edwards, is he taking? Who's he taking? What Cardinal starter is he starting?
I think he's going to pick Seth Lugo.
Seth Lugo. Cole I had on my list though. Where do you
Reagans was on my list.
He is on my.
He was my number 4.
Who do you got, Edwards? You're wrap it up here. Who do you got?
You already said him. Logan Webb.
Logan Webb. All right, I had him next. So.
You know what? You picked 2 Logans just because you miss me so much. I can't believe it. Whatever. You know what?
Logan. Well
you know
done.
You know what? I love you, Josh.
Where's Susie? Where's Valdez? She would have took him. Valdez, is he not on this?
Some good Astros that were.
We left Blake Snell off. I had Blake Snell in my top 10 too.
I would have taken him, but he only played 20 games and he didn't have. I mean, he had a 2.43 FIP, but a 3.12 ERA, and I don't know. I like Blake Snell, but he needs to pitch a whole season before.
I thought you were going to take Imanaga and Yamamoto.
I was going to take Imanaga, but he had a really bad second half, and so I couldn't take him. He was part of the 30 that I cut.
So we drafted 12 guys, right? We drafted 12 guys.
Yeah.
So the guys we left off that I had on my list, just to let you know, was Snell, Valdez, Strider. This guy would have probably been my next pick is Max Fried. I'm a huge Max Fried fan. Always have been a Max Fried guy, even way back. Kirby, Cease. I'm a Dylan Cease fan as well. Michael King had a good year last year for the Padres. Gallen, and then the guy I sneaky have. I have him in the top 3 for Cy Young this year, and then is Hunter Green. That would be he would have been kind of tough for me to leave off if we went another round as well.
160 ERA.
And then Reagans, as you mentioned as well, Cole Reagans too. So those are some guys. And then we didn't even mention Glasnow. We didn't even mention some of these other guys that
McClanahan.
Him as well. And then
Yamamoto. I had to cut because he was just injured so much, and I was like, I don't know what he can do for 30 starts.
I mean, we're talking. We didn't mention Luis Castillo. There's deep pitching this year in the league, and it just feels like it's getting better and better. To me, this is one of the more we've done the top 10 here draft thing as we've kind of moved on, or top 12. The pitching one going over it for me was a lot of fun. Like I was like, I love. I just
150 starters to go through.
Yeah, there's like so many, and you're like, well, this guy, if he has this year, and like I mentioned all these guys, 8 of these guys will not be on the list next year. 8 of these guys I mentioned will not be on the same list we mentioned next year. It just won't happen. That's what happened. Like I didn't have Michael King on the year before. There's no way I had him.
Cole Reagans wasn't there.
Nope. Seth Lugo wasn't.
Crochet wasn't there.
He wasn't there. Crochet wasn't there for me. So Valdez
Gilbert wasn't there. I don't think Screwball wasn't there.
You know who was an underrated guy that I kind of enjoyed was Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah. From the Phillies there.
Yeah, 3.4 WAR, 31 games started, 3.32 ERA, 3 FIP, 122 ERA plus, and a 124 WHIP. I was like, wow, it's pretty solid. And I never heard of him last year. So,
Who's the guys from the Marlins that's coming back this year? That was injured last year.
Alcantara.
Good starter. He could be back. So I mean, he can make a difference as well in this list as well. So it'll be interesting to see Robbie Gray. See if he maybe a full year with the Giants. See what he does as well.
Can we rank our drafts, because I think we know who won the draft.
I did. I know that. I know. No, until tomorrow we let last week Tyler seemed to win the most, so we'll see.
Do we get to do like an end of the year, October wrap up and come back and revisit this and be like,
you'd have to come on
dunk on us. He's like, look, guys, listen, DeGrom won the Cy Young, so here we are.
Can you do that for 4 categories for walk off tomorrow? Can you put Logan's picks in ours and just have
I would say that. Funny as heck.
I would love that, wouldn't it?
Hey, I know we're a baseball show and everything, but the USA and the Canadians,
who's ahead?
2-2 heading into overtime right now. It's sudden death Stanley Cup playoff rules. So it's first goal wins, periods of 20 minutes until we have a winner.
Well, now we know why Josh picked DeGrom with the number 4 pick. He was watching hockey.
Yeah,
he panicked.
Eric,
I almost canceled coming on the show tonight because of this game.
It's an exhibition. Just deal with
so who are we? Wait, this is supposed to be an exhibition. Who are we rooting for?
We're rooting for.
Well, you're from Texas, so
go Finland. No, we want
you out of there.
That's what we got with it. He talked about excellence. I'm glad that Eric's with us this long. I can tell you have a baseball knowledge. You might have heard of Peter Gabbins. It's Diamond Notes time. My favorite segments growing up as a kid on Baseball Tonight was Diamond Notes. So it's always my shout out to Peter here with it. We got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. not signing with the Blue Jays. I feel like nobody should be shocked by it, even though I've read articles where people are like, it is what it is. Mike Trout, as we said, moving to right field. Spring training games to feature automated ball strikes. I got some other stuff. Dever saying, no, third base is mine. You back off, Mr. Bregman. That is my spot. I don't want anything to do with that. So just got some fun stuff that happened this week as well. The Diamondbacks signed their shortstop to a 4-year, $45 million extension. Mate signs with the A's. Longer boon today with the Yankees. And then I thought you guys would enjoy this as a Diamond Note. Joe Buck calling that Yankees Brewers game. I do like him trolling baseball fans along with that too, so that was kind of fun with it. Eric, this is kind of a fun little show we hit on just quick little things here that happened during the week. What do you kind of make us? Maybe some of my Diamond Notes involving some of the things I mentioned, or maybe something else you have that caught your eye this week in baseball.
Well, no, I think this might have been such late breaking news it probably didn't even make the notes. But I saw maybe a couple hours ago that MLB and ESPN are riding out 2025 and then going different ways. So it'll be interesting to see who picks up that partnership with them, or if they just go direct, or I don't know. They need to get their streaming act together and everything. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. With the Vladimir Guerrero news, I feel like now it's just a matter of time before the Blue Jays trade him. They probably just ride it out till midseason, and if they're not, sitting on top of the AL East, which doesn't seem like a high likelihood, then probably going to trade him if they can. And so, yeah, at some point we'll have to come back and revisit who are the likely. I mean, I'd love to think that the Mariners would be one of those teams. They should be one of those teams, but would they be? I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up wanting to, shell out some picks, or not picks, prospects rather, for him.
That's exactly where you guys have so much pitching talent. That's exactly where you should go.
Yeah,
that's the two teams that should make the trade.
The number one farm, at least the Athletic ranked him that. So
I mean,
not all those guys are going to pan out.
I know Mets fans are dying for him. Mets fans seem like I follow a lot of Mets fans. I was like, he's going to the Mets. I'm like, you need pitching. I'm like, you need pitching at some point. You can't just get all hitters at some point here along the way.
I mean, I'll welcome him in St. Louis.
Oh yeah,
and I'll give you a catcher who can hit the ball really far.
Yeah, well, he's a first baseman now, so you got that now. He's a first baseman. He's been working out at Contreras.
He's a catcher posing as a first baseman.
You got that.
No, never mind.
Logan, where do you see Mike Trout going to right field with this? And then if I was to take a guess, Eric, I'm glad you brought this up. My guess is NBC. That's where I'm guessing baseball goes. That's my guess.
I would on Peacock and charge us.
Well, the other one would be CBS. I think that's where it is. I don't. Maybe that might be the case.
Fox already has Saturday baseball.
We'll see.
Saturday afternoons and Saturday night.
Apple, Prime, so many possibilities.
I hope not Apple.
We'll see where they go. We'll see. They say Paramount Plus. My wife does like that. She does like that for FBI, so I can watch that if it's on Paramount Plus. There you go with it. Logan, what do you kind of make of Mike Trout there moving to right field, and maybe Vladimir and some other stuff there?
Mike Trout, I think he should be DH. I think it's stupid for him to play that field when he's getting injured left and right. He's your best player on the team. He's been one of the best players since 2012. Since he was a rookie. Can you hear me?
I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Since he was a rookie, I think just put him at DH. He can't play the field anymore. Just preserve him as much as you can. I get it. It's not kosher, but he's got to do that. As for MLB being moved, I think ABC, I think Disney could swoop in and buy that, and I think that would be cool. Making that just a part of actually ESPN probably. Never mind.
Well, yeah, Disney it owns ESPN.
Yeah, it owns ESPN, so never mind. So I don't know. I don't care necessarily because I don't watch Sunday Night Baseball hardly ever.
I used to watch it all the time. I know that. I think
it was Joe Morgan.
I think they screwed up when they didn't let Joe Buck. They paid Joe Buck all that money and then only made him do football games and not Sunday Night Baseball or Monday Night Baseball or something. Anyway, the other thing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Okay, you guys remember at the beginning of the offseason when I said, you know what, they're not going to re-sign him, they're not going to extend him. They need to quit kidding themselves. And with all the first basemen that are all the free agent first basemen, Goldie, Pete Alonso, who else was there? It was a first
Walker. Yeah, there was a lot of guys.
They should have traded him for a bag of prospects. They didn't do that because they're so stupid. And I don't understand why they insist on being dumb. I hate teams that are stupid, and it angers me to no end, and I'm not going to go on a rant, but Vladimir Guerrero should have been traded. He should have been traded, and they didn't do that, and they're stupid, they're dumb, and I hope they never win again. I hope they go.
I'm gonna fight back for Canada tonight because I want them to lose in the other sports. I'm gonna fight back in the sense of I do think that I'm glad Toronto Ninjas throw in the towel like some of these other teams. And for me, that pisses me off more when I see Pittsburgh. I see Oakland. I see these teams that put zero effort into winning. At least Toronto is kind of trying, but when you see a contract debate like this, it does question some of those things for me in terms of where it is with it. I think the Trout news for me was the most interesting going to right field. That kind of caught my attention the most. I think it's finally the Angels have admitted, but he has admitted it's time. That is where I kind of see it going with him, is he finally realized he's not the elite athlete he was. He is not that guy. He needs to play more than 120 games. When you pick the Angels at second, to finish second, it's only if Trout plays 140 games. It's not. It can't be. Yeah. It can't be anything less. He has to play a ton of baseball. So for me, that's always a big thing. I did want to mention though. Go ahead if you have a thought on that. But I just wanted to throw out before I ended is the Devers thing is kind of interesting to me too.
I'll go into the Devers thing. But I wanted to say that Guerrero at the beginning of the offseason even said that he said something about wanting to go to New York. He said he always wanted to play in New York or something. That should have been bye. That would have been a good thing. But the Devers thing, Devers is so dumb too. Why is Devers is this? What did they do? They ranked all the third basemen in MLB, and I think out of how many players? I don't want to say 120 because I feel like that's too much. But he was ranked.
It was up there, man. It was true.
But he can hit Garrett Cole like no other.
He was dead last.
He was dead last at third base, and he thinks that he has the audacity to say that he is third base is his no matter what. You have Alex Bregman to help you out. You have Trevor Story who can play shortstop. You have Campbell, who's the number 2 prospect in MLB, who's going to be the second baseman or shortstop.
Just go stand in the cage.
Just go to DH. And I get Trevor Story's an injury-prone player. I get that. But you can't just sit and be like, I'm not going to move from third base. Alex Bregman, who is one of the better third basemen, can just suck it up at second base. It's like, first of all, great players play second base, okay? I know plenty of great players who were second base in high school and peaked in high school, definitely. But DH, he needs to be a hitter only. I get it's a crappy thing, but he's a hitter. He's not a defender, and that's okay. He's already got the bag.
You should be his counselor.
I'm done
it's
getting
okay. Angry. It's okay. I wish you were. If you were there, you should be the Red Sox counselor with that as well. All right, so
after
we have
8 hours of counseling. This is how I get angry at people.
Look with it. All right, it's time now. We talked about at the beginning. We did daily walk-off. Let's get into it. And I'm going to start with my Oakland A's. I had it on there as well today. I put it up there early. I feel good about this list. I feel good. So I'm going to go to Mariners next. We'll see if Eric can get his own team. I got 1989 top 3 hits, year 2000 top 4 hits, 2009 top 5 hits, 2019. I mean, you talk about year 2000.
This is already sorted and ready to go.
You've already failed.
Whoa, don't do it.
It's Marcus Semien is not in 2009.
No, I just started it. So
okay.
I didn't say that. So I think Semien, if I had to do that, he's got to be 2019.
Yeah, Rajai Davis.
So I'm thinking that's probably. I feel like the other 2 guys are pretty good with it. I know Dave Henderson.
Jack Best was on the 1989, right?
No. Jack and We Can Bust was not that young. That was not.
He was probably late 2000s fits.
I feel confident about this one. I'm going to see where
it looks good now.
Let's see where we're at with it. Yes, we are at that. Yeah, we are at it. 1989 Battle of the Bay VCR. Me and my brother probably watched that more than is necessary to watch it. So 1989. This is your Mariners, but let's Harold Reynolds. Logan, you got any guesses with this one where I need to put some guys here? A-Rod's got to be 2000, right? He's got to be there.
Yeah.
Edgar's 2000.
D Strange is 2019, right? Because he started in 2011. I don't think he was 2009. Adrian Beltre, 2009.
Yeah, that's definitely there. Harold Reynolds has got to be 89. Dan
Vogelbach is 2000, right?
That's got to be 2019. No, I feel like Vogelbach.
Oh, wait. Daniel Vogelbach.
The only name.
Yeah, he's 2019. I'm sorry.
I feel like he would be over Omar. That would be Omar. No. The only one I'm having a hard time with is I think Jeffrey Leonard. I remember him as a Giant in the 80s, so he's got to be somewhere in the 80s. Russell Brand is the tough one for me. I think he's got to be 2009.
I think Gutierrez is a 2019.
Okay,
wait, why are we talking and Eric not?
Well, because
it's more fun to watch you guys. It's not going to be fun if I do it.
Eric's going to come back and go, okay, guys, you got this guy here, and now.
Eric, this would be my guess. What do you have?
If Eric gets it wrong, then he can just change it.
You're one swap away from perfection here.
It's the Omar. It's somewhere with Omar. I feel like that's where I'm at with it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Omar Narvaez is it?
Maybe it is 19.
Narvaez.
Is it with him and Alan Davis? But I don't recognize Alan Davis.
I think it's Narvaez and Gutierrez.
Franklin's there. All right, let's go there right there. All right, we got it. I knew we were close on.
I didn't realize Narvaez was as recent as 2019. because to me he feels like longer ago, but Gutierrez was definitely late 2000s, early 2010s, so that makes sense.
Russell Brand
was just one.
He was always a funny one to me, Eric, because he was supposed to be like the next Jim Tomei in a sense. Like he was looked upon that as an Indian kind of coming into that era, like lefty, huge swing.
I don't know what happened to him.
He kind of turned into a Joey Gallo in a sense, I guess you would say, a little bit, probably a little less
athletic, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do another one here. Like we said, shout out Eric here, walk off. We know all the time you put in, taking some time to join us tonight. We'll get him out of here in a few minutes. But let's go Rangers in Logan's territory. What do we got here? 1989. Where are we going, Logan? What are we doing here?
Rogie and Danny Santana need to switch.
Okay, hold on.
Rogie Odor.
Okay, we go there.
Marlon Byrd stays at 2019.
Really? He was that late? All right.
No, you're right. He's 2009. He went back.
Okay, I'm just gonna put Cruz there for right now, but
Nelson Cruz needs to stay in 2009.
I gotta think Julio Franco's over Gabe the Babe, no? Or Michael Young. He definitely wasn't.
And then Nelson Cruz needs to be switched out with Danny Santana again.
All right, so we got him there. And then Palmeiro, is he in 80?
2000.
No. Yeah, he's 2000. Mike Lamb, what an talk about. 2000. Know how you talk about my Tyler, one of my guys joins us, and he always says oven mitt at third base. Mike Lamb was known for not having necessarily the best glove back in the day, but that guy could hit. And the Rangers, you provided a lot of wins for my Oakland days back in the day. So I always thank those Mike Lamb days back with it as well.
Gabe Kapler needs to be
2000.
2000.
So who are we putting there then? Is it Palmeiro, 98, 1989?
Over
it's got to be
Alicia.
All right, I'll go there with it. And then Sinsu was not 2019, was he?
Yeah.
He was? Is he that late?
He was in 2009.
It was longer ago than that, but I think 2009 is too early, right?
Yeah. He got traded in 14. Danny Santana, I think Danny Santana and Julio Franco need to switch.
Ooh,
no, I don't
Franco
know.
Would not be 29.
Julio Franco, he'd be 69 at playing baseball. That was the case at this point. He was already like 45 on the Braves when he retired. So I gotta think he's there. I would thinking Luis Alcia and Danny Santana somewhere there, but I think Palmeiro will be the one that maybe goes to 1989. Yeah, let's see, that was the one. That was the one because I knew Palmeiro was kind of drafted around that time from Mississippi State, but that would be as well with it. But Eric, that's what's fun about this game is, like you said, it's different than
you can debate these guys. When did he come up? All that, yeah.
Let me see the Cardinals real quick.
Let me see the Cardinals. Well, I can get it back on there. I can get you back on there with it. But that's kind of fun about your game is, like you said at the beginning, is you don't necessarily have to know, like, oh, this guy. That's the difference between your game and what was the other one we talked about?
Immaculate Grid.
Yeah, is that you don't have to have this percentage with them. You can kind of mess around with that a little bit in terms of that regard. So I don't know. That's the part I kind of enjoy a little bit about it with your part with that, being able to do like both those things. So let me get the Cardinals on here just for.
Yeah, John. You didn't even call out that cool logo at the bottom of the game today.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to call that one out.
What's going on over there?
We get the Variety Sports Network logo on as well, which we always appreciate as well here as we're doing seventh inning stretch. Yes, there it is, Mr. Eric. It is their Variety Sports Network. We're proud to be sponsored by that this week. Proud to have you on as well.
You have the greatest player of all time on there, so I forgive you for not including Shane Robinson.
I can do this one.
He won a big Shane. All right, who do you want on? Let's go with Josh.
So Okendo has to go back to 89. Pendleton has to go back to 89. JD Drew has to go to 2000 for Guerrero.
Right. Where's my guy Ryan Ludwig? He's got to be somewhere.
Ludwig's where he needs to be. DeYoung needs to go to 19. Renteria needs to go back to 2000.
All right, so who am I moving out of 2000 then?
Hold on, let me think here.
Pujols? It's got to be Pujols then, no?
Ooh.
I mean, what do you?
Pujols was Rookie of the Year in 2001.
Yeah, it has to be Pujols. So yeah, that's the switch there. That should be right.
All right, let's see what you got.
No, hold on.
All right, it's not official yet.
Hold on.
Logan, you got any pushback here?
I'm not sure.
If Schumacher would be night.
Could flip him and Molina, maybe.
I was going to say, yeah, Skip wouldn't have been 19.
So we go Skip and Yadier.
Molina might have been. Yeah, let's go there. Let's see what it is.
Bingo.
Mr. Edwards, you got it there with it.
Good job.
And as we saw, as Mr. Eric said there down below, we do have Variety Sports Network, and we're proud to have Walk-Off here sponsoring us this week with that as well. That's a big thing for us. And like I said, we enjoy your show with it, enjoy your game with it. And so it's been a lot of fun for us to kind of play it here on the episodes. And
you have a show?
Give people a different bit of knowledge, not when I can't see your face, but like right now. But like I get what you're saying. There we go. Now I can see what you were right there.
We don't want to see them anyways.
Hey, like you said, face for radio with it. Can I have Eric? This is my part here with it. Well, we do the trivia there with it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Let's see if we can get my trivia today. Let's see if we can get my. There we go with it. So, like you said, some are easier, some are not. But here we go with it.
Hold on.
All right. I played for 10 seasons from 2006 to 2015, playing with 4 teams. All in the National League. I finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year in 2006, behind Hanley Ramirez and Ryan Zimmerman, hitting 27 home runs. This is just hint number 1. I give 3 if we're new to the game here. Anybody want to take a guess before I get hint number 2 or no?
I want to guess last in case they have someone, but I think I have it.
Eric, you got it?
Man, this is like the dark ages of my baseball knowledge because this is when the Mariners became obscure, the Seahawks took off, so the interest went in some other directions. So this is really the dark years, man. I don't want to relive this era, but I'm thinking about it. But I don't.
No guess though. It's all right.
One quick question. So 2015 was their last year in the league, just to be clear.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2015 was the last year. Edward, you got anybody you want to throw out or no? Should we go to Logan for a guess? Logan,
I don't even want Logan to guess. I got a feeling he actually has it.
Logan, what do you got as your guess?
I think it's Jay Bruce.
It is not Jay.
No, he was still active in the late 2010s.
No, Jay lays by the bay. Hit number 2. Don't look in the comments. I was a 4-time All-Star, 06 or a 3-time All-Star. I wrote 4, so I meant to correct that. But I was 3-time All-Star. Finished my career with 235 homes while mostly playing second base. Let me switch with it. Aaron, don't look at the comments. Aaron, you are correct as always. You're on top of your game.
Brandon Phillips.
It is not.
Why do I keep thinking Reds?
235 homers by a second.
I did a Red a couple of years. I did Brett Boone a couple of weeks ago, and these guys are stuck on the Reds and Mariners. I did not. It is not baby Brett Boone. It is not.
I'm just spinning through the different teams in my head, trying to think about who their second baseman of those eras. Like Utley's career was too long to qualify,
right?
So he wouldn't work.
Hit number 3 is obviously a little bit easier.
Don't give us hit number 3 yet. Hold on. Let us spin through
the
teams for a minute
here. I will chill out. But I am going to give Aaron a round of applause if you look at that. You get it right, Aaron. Congratulations.
Second baseman. I don't want to say Cano because it's an NL guy.
Yeah, I know.
Ryan Zimmerman and who?
We spin through the teams really quick. Giants, Jeff Kent, nah. Diamondbacks, I don't think so.
Wasn't the Cardinals.
Dodgers.
Definitely wasn't the Cardinals.
Without the Brewers.
Ruben Tejada, was he a second baseman?
Not that.
The great Miguel Tejada, shout out there. I'll shout out the great Miguel, my favorite player of all time. So we'll do that whenever I can. Do we want to hit number 3, gentlemen?
No.
All right. So
it's not the Cardinals, Josh?
No.
It is not the Cardinals. He did not play
4
for
teams, though. Kind of a journeyman.
That's why I'm like 4 teams with 235 homers. That's what's hanging me up.
I will say this: he played for 2 teams for longer than the other.
That's what I figured. It's like kind of the little end of the career sort of stint there.
Wasn't anybody for the Rockies?
No, not the Rockies. I feel like this next hint should help you guys a lot. As soon as you get it.
Oh wait,
is it Tulo?
Dan Ugla?
It is Dan the Man Ugla.
I love Dan Ugla.
That never came up with that, man.
Nope. Hit number 3 is I started my career with the Marlins and finished.
Yeah,
with
that
the
would have given
Nationals.
it for sure.
I also played for the Braves and Padres. It randomly hit when I saw finish 7.
Dan was kind of a sneaky good player.
Dan
Yeah,
Uggla did not start in 2006. Hold on, let me grab the phone.
Well,
It does
according to
have
MLB
PEDs,
reference, he did. MLB reference, he did the sporting. So
Yeah.
you could fight them on it if you want. They got it with it. So Dan Uggla, what was he, Mr. Biceps, known back in the day? That was that was his thing. Mr. Biceps.
Why do I not remember him being that good of a hitter?
He was a
He
stud
had a huge fall off after 2011.
for 5 seasons.
Okay.
Like I said, hit 30 or more homers. So like he did hit bombs for 5 straight years.
Let's say for a second baseman, I feel like I should remember that.
Yeah, well, he wasn't known for necessarily the glove, but he did hit it with it. Let's get to it, folks. It's flashback time.
What a ride! The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
And what do we have here? We do have a Cardinals flashback just for this is old. This is old school baseball. I think it's Willie B. We got
Really.
Back in my day,
Slammed and
baseball was played on the
Oh, he screwed me.
home. The score is out.
Oh, yes! Yes!
Why do you hate me, Darren? You knew exactly what you were doing.
And the Cardinals win it.
That's Ray Langford.
As he bowls over Dalton, who had the out, but then the ball was jarred loose.
See, if Buster
And
Posey
St.
was
Louis
playing
has
back
won
then,
it
we would never seen
7-6.
plays like that.
On an incredible turn of events.
Oh,
Rookie
man,
Langford gambled and won. Struck
So-
a great
That's
play
cold,
on
You were
the
man.
throwing gasoline on a fire, Darren.
To win the game, Ray Langford,
I
one of
love
my
it.
favorite throwback names. One of my favorite here on the show here. One of my best ever. This is a good throwback video. The collisions at the plate. We're not going to get this. This is a win the game. They were going to get a double play here with it. And they wrote, nope, I'm going home. Nope, Ray Langford. No, we're welcome to middle linebacker school. We're taking you out there. And he gets absolutely correct. Yeah. And the ref. Yeah, that's his old school baseball as it gets within that regard.
Oh, I love it. It's gorgeous.
Eric, appreciate you taking some time tonight to be with us, man. I walk off. I continue, guys. Nothing but success, and I just want to say, I really appreciate your time. And so I know that you got a lot going on. I know you got, like you said, you spent an hour on the show, and for you to spend an hour and a half.
Yeah, here we go. We spent over an hour today, but it was fun. It was worth it.
But I appreciate it, and I'm glad to have been able to do this with you. And I just best of luck with your show, with your game. You guys have something really good going, and we'll continue to be supporting that. Even if whatever the sponsorship is, what it is, like that part of it, I just think you have a great product. And as a baseball fan, we're going to keep playing it. I'm going to throw it. I'll show it out to my 8th graders like I did with PE. So
we got to get the Marlins on there for a Dan Uggla sighting.
There you go. But just appreciate your time, man. I really do.
Yeah, thank you.
And best of luck. Okay,
Thank
along the way with it. So Logan Stone, appreciate your time as well. We'll probably be back. We'll be back with it the first week of March. We're going to take next week off. I'm in science camp, folks. Next week with the young'uns, so I'll be there with it out in Santa Cruz next week. But we'll be there with it. So for Logan Stone, for Josh Edwards, for Eric Parker, Daily Walk-Off, be sure to check that out. I'm Darren Breyer here, 7th inning stretch. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Peace.
I won the draft.